So okay, I think we should look at. We're going to hit the ground running, I think, today, because although we've got 2 hours, we've got a lot of stuff to cover, haven't we? So I think we need to go to picture 106. If we can see that one. Right. This is the arcade underneath. Will you tell us what that is?
This is actually the loading zone where they made the deliveries, the ramp, under buildings 4 and 5. And the foreground is purple. That means it's under building 5, and the green part is under building 4. And if you look down at the end of that hallway, you see a green wall where you have to make a right turn to pull out of the parking garage. This picture was taken after 9/11. You might maybe it's a little bit more dusty on the ground, but it's still intact. The lights are still on. And the interesting part of the end of that hall is that it's underneath where building 4 used to be, but there's no building there above it.
There's no building. Well, let's look at 102. This is the site of World Trade Center 1 north and south walls. So this is after a 110-story building.
Went away.
Okay, I know you don't like to say collapse.
Went away.
You went away, okay. And, you know, I've read some statistics that there should be, you know, if you collapse a building, there should be at least 12% of the original height on the ground. And 110 stories would make, what, 15 stories of rubble? It doesn't look to me like there's 15 stories of rubble there.
You see an ambulance parked there at ground level, so you know where ground level is.
Yeah, there's the ambulance, right, absolutely. So,
also, this was a steel frame structure, and in the foreground of this picture, do you see any steel?
No, you don't.
You see a few pieces of aluminum cladding.
It is quite extraordinary, isn't it? Okay, let's go to 103. This is 103 is a map.
It's a satellite image.
Satellite image. This is after 9/11, very shortly after 9/11. Do you know how long?
I think it was either the 23rd or the 27th.
Okay.
Of September 2001.
Okay, so no chance really to have cleared it all up.
No.
So and what you can see there is well, the towers are completely gone. WTC 6 on the top right-hand corner
has that big void in it where about 50% of the building's mass is just gone.
But the rest of it is still there. And some of the other buildings are gone. Of course, WTC 7 has gone as well. And
the bottom left-hand corner, that building was building 4, and just the north wing, which north is to the right, just the north wing remains, and the rest was gone basically down to ground level. Gone. You just sweep it up.
So how can half a building disappear and the other half still be standing?
It looked like it was sliced off with an X-Acto knife.
We don't know what X-Acto knives are in the UK, I'm afraid, Judy.
Razor blade, razor blade.
A razor blade, okay. And of course, with this hole in the World Trade Center 6, it's a kind of similar thing, isn't it? It's been sort of gouged out with something.
It's a void, empty. You know, some people say, well, stuff must have fallen in it. Well, if debris fell in it and collapsed it down, you look in the bottom of the hole, you should see something.
Okay, we're going to whiz through some more pictures, I think. Let's look at number 104, 104. Right, this is...
It's an elevation map of what was left. And I've drawn in a sort of a ghost outline of what should have been there, or what had been there. 2 tall buildings, a 22-story building, and the other buildings which are 8 and 9 stories tall.
I don't see World Trade Center 7 on this.
It's off to the right.
So it's just out of frame.
Yes.
That was a 47-story building, wasn't it?
Right, right.
Which in most US states would have been the tallest building.
Or most cities, and as well as the 22-story building 3.
Yeah.
That one went away, and very few people talk about that.
22 stories, yeah, that's significant. I mean, if that was in London, for instance, that would be perhaps our 3rd or 4th tallest building.
But it's gone.
It's gone. And there's a quote there, isn't there, from a firefighter. I'll read this out. I looked and said, guys, there used to be 106 floors above us, and now I'm seeing sunshine. There's nothing above us. That big building doesn't exist. These are the biggest office buildings in the world, and I didn't see one desk or one chair or one phone. Nothing.
They're in the bottom of Tower 1.
They were in Tower 1.
They were in Tower 1, between the 3rd and 4th floor in Stairwell B.
Yeah.
And they assumed when the building, they thought, collapsed, they assumed they were buried under such debris that they'd be dead by the time anyone found them.
Well, I mean, just look at the earthquake that's happened in Turkey yesterday and today, that they're talking about today, and there are piles of rubble where the buildings have collapsed. I mean, layer upon layer, floor layer upon floor layer of rubble, which they're struggling to get people out of. They haven't disappeared, have they, those buildings?
In my book, I put a picture of a pancaked building from an earthquake in Pakistan. And there, right after it happened, another striking difference is the clear air, not filled with dust.
And yeah, it was very dusty, wasn't it? Okay, let's have a look at number 105, please. Right, now where is this?
That's under the first layer, right underneath Building 4.
This is under Building 4 again.
And you can look and see what stores. This is the mall. You can see it was Innovation Luggages on the left. Next one down is Hallmark Cards. At the end, it's a little bit punched in, and that's the missing part of Building 4. They're right under Building 4.
Where it was sliced in half.
Exactly. They're right above that parking garage. So this was a little bit damaged at the end. They're still walking upright.
Yeah.
But the parking garage was below them, and it didn't go that far down.
That is extraordinary. Okay, let's go to 106.
The parking garage? That's the loading docks right below where the mall was. That's so when they unload the goods, they know where they are.
And this is under which building?
Buildings 5 and 4.
5 and 4.
The purple is under 5 and the green is under 4. And the green at the end of the hall is under about the middle of, underneath the missing part of Building 4,
okay.
That main body.
Okay, let's go above ground now and go to 107.
We're looking west through the complex, and there's Stairwell B, that little stub left. You can see right, a little bit to the right of the center of the picture.
Is this where that J. Jonas was?
Yes.
He was in that stairwell.
There's 14 of them that survived there.
And there was a 110-story building, at least 106 floors of which were above their head.
Yes. And they were calling out on their handy-talkies to their buddies, you know, to come rescue them. And we're in Stairwell B, Tower 1. Where are you? Tower 1, Stairwell B. Where are you? Stairwell B, Tower 1. They said, where's Tower 1?
Yeah.
If you looked at that, would you see a building?
Can we see that again? Can we just pop back to that 107 again, please? I mean, that just is... Well, it's disappeared, hasn't it?
Yeah,
Apart from Stairwell B, something, you know, survived, but...
You see the north wall, the north corner facade, and there's only about 8 stories of corner facade that were there.
Everything else...
Gone. Down to ground level.
Okay, we're gonna have the last picture, and then we're gonna talk some more about this. This is 108. This is another view of Building 6, isn't it, with the hole in it?
Yes, a closer view. And in the foreground, you see that dome from the World Financial Center, Building 2.
This is not the World Trade Center, this is the World Financial Center.
It's right across the street.
Yeah.
Do you notice how clean that top is? No damage? It's right across the street.
It hasn't been hit by anything, has it?
No. And what's that void across the street from it, where Tower 1 was, you can see the north wall is about 8 stories left because Building 6 was 8 stories. Where are the other 102 stories?
Well, yeah, that's a very good question. So, Judy, you've looked at the evidence for how many years have you been doing this? Nearly 10 years? 10 years you've been looking at this evidence, and you've pinned it down and you've pinned it down, and where'd it go?
Dust. Gone with the wind. Blown away, most of it.
So, but this isn't Kansas, Tonto, is it?
No, it's...
Actually, that was the wrong film, wasn't it? I do apologize.
But I've just looked at the evidence. I believe in looking at the evidence because the evidence will tell you what happened, exactly what happened.
Just looking at the evidence?
Just looking at the evidence.
Not making any assumptions, not saying it was this, it was that.
Right. And as soon as you start making assumptions, you're fixing to mess up.
Well, it does seem to me, and I've studied this myself, as you know, from the outside, if you like, for very many years, and there are a lot of people out there who've made well, they have an opinion about what happened on that day, and they say that the buildings were not destroyed in the way, according to the official report, the 9/11 Commission report, but they were destroyed by other methods like thermite or thermate or nanothermite or super thermite or mini nuclear weapons or other methods. Do you reject all of those?
I begin by looking at the evidence, and you rule out the impossible, and what remains has got to be among what is possible. And one of the things, the biggest things I discovered in looking at this evidence, the three main things: the buildings didn't burn up or slam to the ground, but turned into dust in midair. And I know that because if they slammed to the ground, you'd see a pile of debris there. Didn't happen.
There was a lot of debris all over Manhattan, though, wasn't there?
But not 2 buildings worth of each 500,000 tons, plus a 230,000-ton building across the street.
Building 7.
Right. A lot of mass is missing.
Yeah, the weird thing, because those 2 towers were built, if I can sort of praise you the way that they were built, because I have looked at this, and they had something like 47 columns in the middle of each tower, sort of slightly offset, but more or less in the center of each tower. And then they had steel beams connecting to what you call wheat checks on the outside, but we would call like shreddies, because wheat checks is breakfast cereal, right? And so like a kind of cross-section of steel clad with aluminium with the windows set in, and that actually had a structural purpose as well.
Oh, very much. They were a tube within a tube type design. There was an outer structure.
So the outer structure was a tube.
Well, no, well, yeah, around the whole building, kind of like a tube. And then the inner columns were like another. And
they were much more solid, weren't they? The inner columns were massively thick steel.
I've looked at biomimicry, you know, mimicking nature.
Or like a tree or something.
Right, with engineering designs for strength, because trees are very strong. And that is biologically inspired. The design is like a tree can bend a lot, and it has this tube within a tube structure. Not just one tube, but the tube within a tube. So the building was built with the outer columns, I think it was 59 on each side of the 4, and then with these 47 inner columns, and the floors were connected between the inner and outer columns. And they were meant to move with the breeze.
Yeah, and they did, didn't they?
Yeah.
It was known that they did in a strong wind, yeah.